Hello and welcome back to another editing live stream. I have not done one for a long time. So what we're going to do, we're going to catch up on not all of the photos, but a lot of the photos that I've done during my chasing the award-winning image. So if anyone new to the channel, I have set myself a little goal to try and capture an award-winning image. And it has to be done in a live stream. So I'm only going to enter images that I have captured during a live stream, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to have a look at some of the images I've captured during my live stream, and this is where we left it off. So last time I did an editing session, this was the last photo that I got. So we're going to move on because we've got some new ones, and it has been a long time. In fact, it's been the 16th of January was the last lot of photos I did during a live stream. And yeah, what we'll do is we'll go through the raw files. Eventually we're going to get to the ones that I've just taken recently. So the one that was in the thumbnail, and we'll do a full edit on it. Okay, so I'll show you sort of how I go about editing those photos. But you're going to see all my raw files. I will explain to you the ones that work, the ones that don't work, explain why they work, why they don't work, and just sort of give you a bit of an idea of what's going on. Okay, so first let's check the audio. So Kath, sound and audio, great. Okay, perfect. All right, so audio is working. That's good. It's been a while since I've done this. Now, let's hope the stream holds out, because I remember last time we did have issues towards the end. As soon as I use anything AI related, the stream will crash. So that's a good reason not to use anything AI related, because I can't stand it. I can't stand AI. And I'm going to steer clear of AI. Part of the awards, it's the Epson Pano Awards, the Epson International Pano Awards that I will be entering. And no AI allowed anyway. Okay, so no multiple exposures. I think you're allowed to do exposure blending, so it can be a HDR image, for example. But no removing things, no replacing things, no photoshopping, so to speak. And that's why I'm entering them, because they're very photographic awards. Okay, but after looking at last year's entries, we won't go into that. G'day up and about, how are ya? Welcome. Now, from memory, it was you that caused me to crash last time, so I'm not gonna get in there and do any of the AI stuff. And yeah, look, I'm gonna try and stay away from the AI stuff. The only AI thing that I do use is the denoise. That's about it. The denoise, I think that's allowed. Denoise program, sharpening, things like that you're allowed to use. So AI denoise, that is literally the only AI I use, because AI, I don't like it. Do not like it at all. Anyway, let's get on with the photos and stop talking too much. So welcome, and let's have a look at some raw files. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some that don't work for starters. So these ones, they don't work. There's just a lot I don't like. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly put my preset on it. That's just going to sort of show us. I'm going to sort of show you what I do with my images and how I go about culling them, how I go about marking which ones I like. So just going to apply a very quick preset, basically bring down the highlights and lift my shadows, just so I can see what's in the image before I start editing. So that just gives me a better preview. So when I go through them, I know which ones I want to work on. So these ones here, look, the reason they don't work, foreground is uninteresting, midground, there is no midground at this location. The light's okay. Now, hang on, these aren't the ones I want. These are the good ones. Let's go back. Let's go back to the 16th of January, because these are the ones that I want to look at for starters, because I haven't even looked at them myself. I've had a quick look, but I haven't gone through them. So again, just going to apply that preset, and that's, you can see my preset here. That's all I do. Just Adobe Landscape, highlight shadows, just lets me see what's in the image before I start editing it. So it's more of a preview, just to get our raw files not looking like a flat raw file. Okay, so these ones here, yeah, look, what I realized after I'd taken these shots, like I like them, I think they're fine. Midground is a big issue, okay? It's just water. There's just nothing happening in my midground. So as I worked out, later on in the night, I got down lower to try and eliminate as much midground as possible, because the midground wasn't really doing anything. Eventually, I just got the camera down lower to the water, to eliminate as much midground as possible. And that's what I did in that last live stream that I did. I'll give you a quick sneak peek because this is the image we're going to work on. You would have seen it in the thumbnail. Oh, I've got lots of them. I can't remember which one it was. I haven't even rated them yet. I think it was this one. So this one here, by getting down nice and low, so at water level, we cut out that midground altogether. Okay, so that's one thing I sort of learnt from my previous attempted stream out there. And I've got to remember, because these are going to be the Pano Awards, we have to crop them. Okay, I sort of mentioned in the live stream why I'm not going to take multiple shots for my panorama. Trying to get water flow like this in multiple shots in a panorama is very hard, okay, and the stitching process would be a nightmare. Okay, so keeping in mind that I was shooting all of these shots with the plan of cropping them into a pano, but getting down nice and low, we get rid of all that midground. And this one here, I've even got that wave rolling in, which I love this photo, but we'll get onto that later. That one will edit up really nicely. So that's kind of what I learned from that first session. And like, I like these photos. I think these, where are we? 16th of January. So I think these photos are fine. They're nice. But my biggest problem here is if I try to crop them into a panorama, we just, you know, we either don't have enough sky or there's just too much midground. I don't like them. I just don't. Nice photos, they just don't work as a panorama, is what I'm saying. So these ones, I'm going to skip straight over them. Okay, so Birdman, g'day Birdman, how are you? It's subjective. Some may like, some may hate. Exactly, and it is all subjective, and that's the whole thing with competitions as well. Competitions is, you know, you'll usually find with most competitions, you will have one judge that will love your image, and then you'll have one or two judges that won't like it. So you've got to hope that you have two or three that like it and one that doesn't. Not everyone's going to like the same image. Okay, so you've got to, yeah, when it comes to, and that's why I just don't enter competitions, but I thought this would be a nice little challenge and something different to do on the YouTubes. Kerry, hello, welcome. Yes, hello everyone. So we are going through, these were way back in January, so we'll quickly go through these. I'm just sort of explaining why I don't think they'll work. Like, you know, nice images, you know, if I was to print them in that format, absolutely fine. But yeah, my problem with these images was once I crop them, I'm either losing too much foreground or losing too much sky. Like this, I don't know which one, I haven't gone through them to tell the truth. I've just sort of had a quick look. But even if I was to crop that one into a pano, so the Epson Pano Awards, they have to be a minimum of 2:1. So we can do 3:1, we can do X-pans, we can do all sorts of things. But if I crop that one in, I just feel like I'm losing too much sky and all this midground is wasted space. All of that across the middle is nothing. A sea stack would be nice, a boat, a flock of birds, something along that midground would really help it. So I'm going to skip over these. Like, again, nice photos, but not what we're looking for in this competition. And all competitions are different, okay? They're not all the same. So you've got to treat them all differently. Because we're doing a pano, like this one almost works. I think I had a bit of a play around with this one. So this is when I sort of started to realize, hang on, I've got too much foreground. I need to just make my foreground. So here the midground isn't quite as bad. I've started to include some rocks off to the left. Out there, not too bad. So that one's a little bit better. There's a couple in here, and what I'll do, eventually I will go through all of my photos and I'll narrow it down, which is what I've kind of done with the previous ones. So like, for example, on that day I had 3 photos I was happy with. That one I had 1 photo I was happy with. So I will go through and narrow them down on my own time. But yeah, there's a few that I haven't gone through yet. So I will go down, you know, and then we've got days where we've got like 20 photos. So eventually I will narrow them down in my own time so you don't have to sit through all that. Let's get back on track. Okay, so back to these ones. So these ones I haven't even narrowed them down yet. I've just sort of, yeah, I've got a heap of images in here. Now, from memory, and for those that aren't in the Discord yet, I have set up a Discord. And it was one of these images that I put in the Discord. it was that one. So I put the raw file in the Discord and had it as a bit of a challenge. So you guys got to edit my raw file. So if you haven't joined the Discord, there's a link in the description. There's a few rules with my Discord. So if you're just a random person that's watching this for the very first time, you probably won't get in. I want to know who you are before I let you into my Discord. So leave a comment, join in on a live stream. That's it. Once I get to know you, then I'll let you in. So if you're friends on Instagram or Facebook, I don't really look at much, but if you're friends on one of them, you've got a fair chance of getting in. If this is the first time you're watching a stream, leave a comment, just say hello, let me know who you are, and then eventually, once I get to know who you are, I'll let you into my Discord, and then you can edit one of my raw files, or you can submit some to me, and we might do that later if I don't talk too much crap for too long. I might open up the Discord, and if someone wants to send me a photo, we'll have a quick edit. So these ones here, from memory, this was the only one that I thought was a potential. Like, I love this photo. I think this photo is good, and that's the one that I opened it up for everyone to edit. But again, if we turn it into a pano, 2:1 is kind of the minimum ratio. It's borderline, okay? I don't like how we have to cut off the water. I do like to have that water flow, but then if we keep all the water flow, we lose the sky. Okay, so to me, that just doesn't quite work as a pano. So we're gonna skip over that one. So as you can see, like, they're all nice photos, but award-winning is a different story altogether. Okay, so this one here is, actually that one might be a bit better. So that one, I might even, let me give that a rating now. I'm just going to give that a 5-star rating now, because that's we could do a bit with that. In fact, let's start some editing. I've joined the Discord, but don't know how to join others. You've joined the Discord. Let me have a quick look. I should have an invite in my Discord. Oh, you've joined Discord, but you don't know how to join this one. Is that what you mean? There's a link in the description. So if you just click on the link in the description, you have to fill in a little questionnaire, and then that will send it off to me, and then I'll be able to accept it. So yeah, click on the link in the description. It will take you straight to the Photos on the Bay Discord. It'll give you a little questionnaire that you have to fill in. So if you get my name wrong, you won't get in. Yeah, so this one, I do like this. So I'll give you a quick rundown of how I would go about editing a photo like this. So first thing, I'm going to bring my whites back up a bit because I want all this whitewash to be a feature. So I'm going to start just by getting my foreground roughly where I want it. So I'm just going to bring it up just a little bit, bring up my foreground a little bit. And at this stage, I'm just looking at my foreground. I'll deal with my sky separately. Okay, we'll reset the blacks as well now that we're sort of where we want to be. I've still got my Adobe landscape selected. I'm going to bring up the shadows a little bit just to get some detail back in these rocks down here. Yeah, highlights, that's sort of more the sky. So just looking at my foreground, we'll add a bit of contrast to it. So that's looking reasonable. Now I'll work on my sky. So I'm just going to grab a linear gradient, and we'll deal with the sky. I like to make big soft gradients too. So let's just darken down the sky a little bit. Yeah, that's looking okay. White balance, I kind of like where the white balance is. We might just sort of play with that a little bit. Again, this is one of those things that I'll revisit this photo a lot before the final edit. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of how I go. And all I'm doing is moving sliders until I like what I'm seeing. So I don't mind a bit of magenta in this. I'm just going to add a bit more magenta. We'll do an exposure blend on that sky. So as you saw from the raw file, if I reset back to 0, we've clipped our shadows a little bit, not too concerned about, but our highlights are under control. So that's sort of, you know, I would say 80% of my photography, especially with landscapes, is just keeping my highlights under control. If my highlights are under control, I know I can recover shadow detail. And then I'll do multiple exposures if I have to. So let's just go back to where we were. So I know all my highlight detail, it's all up there. I can do an exposure blend if I need to. But I'll just give you a sort of a quick idea of what I do. And then what I'll do is I'll grab a brush. and I'm going to increase my white. So I'm going to crank that right up and then just start to paint in the water down here. Now I want to turn that density up to 100, my flow up to 100, then I'll really see it take effect. Okay, and just whiten the bright parts. I don't want to whiten around the corner. I'm just basically lifting my whites on that whitewash to make that really stand out. And then I reckon we could probably even, I'm just looking, those shadows do seem dark. So I'm going to grab my luminance range. I'm going to select the darkest part. And I've done plenty of videos on the luminance range. This is, yeah, you don't need plugins. A lot of people try and sell you plugins for luminosity masking. And look, they are good. You know, the plugins are good. They do make life a lot easier. It's more of a one-click thing, but every image is different. Sometimes you don't want just one click. So now that I've just selected the darkest parts, I'm just going to lift up my shadows a little bit more, just in those dark areas. Yeah, the sky, yeah, the sky needs work. It's got a lot of hot spots in it, as in some very bright spots, some very dark spots. I love what's happening over this side of the sky. I like that. I don't like what's happening here. How we've got, they almost look blown out, which I know they're not. Like there's detail behind there. So that's where I would take it into Photoshop, do an exposure blend. So I would get this sort of back to about there somewhere. And you know what? Let's kick it off with an exposure blend. I'm going to show you a really cool way to exposure blend. Did you hear Ripley barking? Yes, I did. I think she wants to make an appearance. All right, let's get her in. I did hear her barking. Ripley! Ripley wants to come and say hello to the chat. Hello, do you want to come up, say hello? Can you see? Oh, you need to come up higher. Ready? There you go. Say hello to everyone. I can't see her. The stream's delayed, but there she is. She just wanted to say hello. Have you had your dinner? Yep. All right. Down you get. All right, she just wanted to come and say hello. I plan on taking her out a little bit more with me, to tell the truth. I want to get her out and she can come and take photos with me. All right, let's do an exposure blend. I'll show you how I do this. What I'm going to do, right click, edit in Photoshop. This way of exposure blending is the best. I did a video on this a long time ago, and it is still the best way of doing it. So there's my base image. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to my raw file. And now all I'm really looking at is this part of the sky. So I'm going to bring this exposure down until I recover some of this highlight detail. And then I'm going to open that one in Photoshop. And look, you can do it just off the one raw file in Photoshop. I'd just like to use Lightroom. Makes it a bit easier. So now I've got that same photo opened with two different exposures. So I'm going to grab this one here, click and drag, place that on top. I've got plenty of videos on how I do this, so I'm just going to do it very quickly. Create a layer mask, channels, control RGB, grab my black brush, turn the opacity way down, turn my brush way down, and then if I just slowly start to paint those brightest areas. So I've essentially created a luminosity mask, and I'm just using a very soft brush to bring in those darkest spots. And just like that, so there's before and there's after. So if and you know, the good thing with the luminosity mask, you can just choose where you want it. It doesn't like affect the whole image. So as you can see, these bright spots almost look blown out, very bright, and just that's how quick and easy it is to do a luminosity mask in Photoshop. So I've got other videos on that, but that's sort of what I would do, just to even out that sky a bit so it's not quite so crunchy and contrasty. And then, yeah, I don't know. It's one of those ones I need to spend a bit of time with it. I still think the shadows are a bit too dark. A good way of just lifting everything, just grab a curves adjustment. If you want everything brighter, just grab your curve in the middle. That way you protect your shadows and your highlights. By using the curves, what we can do is just brighten the whole image without making our blacks blacker and our whites whiter. So by grabbing that in the middle, you're kind of lifting your exposure, but you're preserving your highlights and your shadows. So, and you know, I could go that way and make everything nice and bright, or I could go the other way and make it a bit more moody. So they're sort of things that I will spend more time, you know, playing around with. I'll probably save a copy of each, save one as a bright one, save one as a darker one, and then work out how I'm feeling. And that's generally how my photos turn out. If I'm feeling dark, I will go dark. If I'm feeling bright, I will go bright. It's that simple. Okay. From that day, I can't remember how I was feeling when I was out there. I was doing a live stream. I'm always happy. Okay. So yeah, just by using your curves, you can just, it's better than exposure. It's better than bringing up exposure, because exposure, yeah, you lose highlights, you lose shadows. So, you know, might even just go with the darker one, and then we could grab our brush tool, and again, if we just turn that brush back up, just add like a vignette around the edge. So then we're just darkening the outside just to draw our eye back into the middle. Now this isn't going to be an award-winning image. Straight away the judges will pick up on that. I know they will. We've got those channel markers out there. Okay, we've got some channel markers there. They'll say, why didn't you clone them out? And because I don't clone things out, they're there. They're in my shot. I'm not taking them out. I'm not going that far to get rid of things. And I've mentioned that in the live stream a few times. I don't like to crop things in and out, because one day I'll take someone out to this location and they'll say, oh, I've never noticed them before. Yeah, that's because I photoshopped them out. So it's false advertising. So yeah, this one here, I still, you know, it's a potential. I don't know whether I'll do a full edit, and I only do a full edit once I've worked out, you know, is it going to be one of my, I don't even know how many images I'm going to submit yet. I'm going to submit at least 3, because to win the photographer of the year, which ain't going to happen, you have to have at least 1 in the top 10 and another 2 in the top 50. So if I can manage to crack the top 50, I'll be happy with that. Yeah, cracking the top 50. And I think the top 50 is something like the top 5% of images. So yeah, let's just worry about getting some nice images first. I don't know if that's an award-winning one. So, but that'll give you an idea of what I'm looking at when I go to edit. Bringing up my whites, really bringing out all this whitewash, because that is a feature of the image. The feature is all this whitewash. Darkening around the edges to try and hide things that I don't want. Just exposure blending to soften that sky a little bit. And then just playing around with white balance to get it sort of where I want it. But yeah, finding a mood for an image is the tricky part. And then eventually I moved over to my tree. Now I can't remember what, these ones are okay, but yeah, I've got better ones. Okay, so these are okay. To me, these ones here, too much off to the right hand side. Okay, I don't like all of this rock off to the right. I don't want to crop it too much. Again, if we turn it into a pano, I did kind of plan it. This one I did plan it. Wish I could get my horizon straight. To have these rocks in the shot and then have this corner just kind of coming in from the corner of my frame. So that one I would probably crop in about there. That might be a bit too aggressive. Let's try the 2:1. Okay, I don't like, so now what I'm looking at, this rock down here, I don't want things like that in my shot. Okay, it's either there or it's not, so get rid of that. I don't want that coming into my frame. Then we've got the horizon slap bang in the middle. So yeah, that's another, I just don't know. The sky is nice. I do like what's happening in the sky. Again, we'd probably do a bit of an exposure blend with that. Bring our foreground up, blend in the sky a little. But yeah, I don't like all of this off to the right. Again, you could do the vignette thing. Let's just quickly do it. I'll do it this way. And then what I'll do is I'll just invert that mask and we'll just darken down the edges a little bit. Okay, so I could kind of darken down the edges to hide that corner. But again, I think I've got better shots of this tree. I would like a bit of water movement under that tree. So that shot's, again, it's a nice photo. Is it award-winning? I don't know. So, and this one, again, I've exposed for my highlights just to preserve those highlights. So this one here, by the time we crop it in, this is where the foreground's getting a bit too messy. Okay, I think we had, it probably wasn't ingoing time, but to me that foreground's just a bit, there's too much going on. Okay, you know, this tree works well when it's very simple, like here. This composition's a bit better. We've just got a couple of rocks there, a bit more water. Like, I think that just works better, but I sort of don't like what's happening over that side. And if I try and crop that side out, it kind of throws the whole photo out of balance. And now it's too right heavy. So yeah, maybe even bring in and get rid of that little mangrove. Little things like that I've got to sort of take note of as well. Like this little mangrove, it doesn't need to be there. I know it's there. It doesn't need to be in the shot. So maybe just sort of crop it in there. So again, another nice photo, but is it award winning? Yeah, I don't know. The rocks look rusty. They do. And look, we, you know, playing around with our white balance and contrast and things, we can make it look, and you know, this is where I'll sort of go to town on it. I'll do some dodging and burning to really get our shadows. Dodging and burning will give it more of a 3D effect. So first thing I want to do is work out which images I want to use. That's sort of my first priority, is do a quick edit on them, get them to a stage where, you know, is that going to be in my top 5? Probably not. Is this one going to be in my top 5? I don't know yet. I don't know. Okay, but as far as getting it just looking nice, somewhere around about there, add some contrast. I'll just do a very quick edit on this because I do like this shot. This is a very nice shot. We'll just bring that down, and then what I might even do is let's just try, click on that mask and subtract. I'm going to try subtracting the subject and see if it finds that tree as my subject. Again, Photoshop, exposure blending, I do it all in Photoshop. I don't like doing it in here. All Gaming Master, love from India. Thank you and welcome to the stream. So yeah, just doing a bit of an edit. It's not going to be a full workflowish type edit. I'll get to, look, I talk a lot of crap, I do. But welcome. So as you can see, it hasn't selected that subject well. That's where the exposure blend is just so much better. Okay, the exposure blend is so much better. I'm just going to delete that mask, and we'll probably just do a normal linear gradient. And this is one of the reasons I don't use graduated filters. I don't use graduated filters because what they do, let me just sort of show you. I'll do a soft grad. If I bring that down, then it darkens my tree, which is what I don't want. So, you know, then, you know, if that was a grad on it, we kind of lose that detail in our tree. And then if we try and, you know, adjust it from here, the bottom half will light up, the top half's going to stay dark. It's baked into your raw file. Where this way, what I can do, let's remove this. And again, I'll show you exactly what I did before. I'll remove that altogether. So this is the way I do my blending. I'll get my foreground roughly where I want it. In this case, I'm going to brighten it up. Edit in Photoshop. The more I do this, the more people will understand how good it is. Honestly, the exposure blend in Photoshop, it's all just working off one file. If you've got 2 files, even better. But if we're just working off one file, just have one exposed for your foreground, one exposed for your sky. Bring them both into Photoshop. And I'll show you another little trick that is pretty good too. Okay, now for this to work, you do want your brighter exposure on top. So Control or Command J, get your brighter exposure on top, create a mask, channels, hold your Control, select RGB. Okay, and then we can just start to paint out that sky. And I usually like to turn it down just a little bit. And now that we've created a luminosity mask that's only selecting the darkest part. So if I was to zoom in, you can see all those marching ants around my tree. So whenever I paint, it's not going to affect that tree. It's only going to affect the brightest parts. So that way your tree keeps all of the original color in it, and then we're just darkening down the sky a little bit. Okay, and then maybe just sort of go around the edges. But that is easily the best way to exposure blend. So then we're darkening the sky and not touching that tree. Okay, and at any time we can, if the sky is too bright, we can dial that back. If our foreground's too dark, we can take down our brighter exposure. So, and that's how quick and easy it is, okay, rather than downloading plugins and choosing lights 1, lights 2, lights 3, darks 1, 2, 3, just exposure blend it and then use a brush to sort of paint it in and out. Takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you get used to it, there's no other way as far as I'm concerned. It's just the best way. Okay, so now, yeah, now we've sort of, that's roughly how I would do that. And then again, come to our curves, work out whether we want it bright or dark. And again, I think this one does work quite well dark, especially that sky, making that sky nice and dark. Really brings out a lot of that color. Okay, then we can just, by using a brush, we can just brush in where we want that light to come from. Okay, down that corner is very dark. Okay, so there, just by darkening around the edge, we sort of bring our focus back to the tree, because the leading lines don't lead us to the tree, so we need to create fake light. And then, yeah, too aggressive. So that's my rough workflow for starters. And then I do all sorts of things. I've got up here, I've got my Orton effect. I've got lots of other little tips and tricks, which I can't give away all my secrets, can I? But yeah, the majority of it is that, just an exposure blend. And then I'll sort of start to work. Dodging and burning, I've done a few videos on dodging and burning, which is sort of where I'll finish it off. We'll sort of brighten up some of these brights, we'll darken down the darks. Maybe bring out the tree a little bit more. Okay, boost our color. This is a new one. Down in Photoshop, for the Photoshop users, down in your masking tools, they've now added color and vibrance, clarity and dehaze, and grain. Color and vibrance is good. We can, I usually add a little bit of vibrance. I don't like to make it overly vibrant, just add a little bit. Saturation depends on the image. I don't normally touch saturation, but on this image it might work. So the good thing with doing it in here, you can sort of dial it back if it gets too bright or too dark. Okay, so a nice photo, but is it award-winning? I don't know. I'm not even going to save these as I go. They're just sort of to give you an idea. So yeah, we had a couple of nice images from that day. I don't like that edit. I need to do a lot to see. Now that I've revisited that and looked at it again, I don't like that edit at all. It's too contrasty. The darks are too dark. I can smooth that out a lot. All right, on to the next day. What was the next day? Okay, this day. I'm going to do the last 3 live streams that I did, sort of cover them. I haven't tried the exposure blending yet. It looks good. It is fantastic, Kerry. It's so much better than using Lightroom. It's more accurate and it gives a nicer blend. So again, I haven't gone through these yet. And straight away, I can see just by looking at the thumbnails, let me just apply my preset so I can sort of get a better idea of what we're looking at. Just by looking at these straight, I don't like them. Okay. Foreground, yuck. I was going for a starburst. The sun was too bright. Eventually I got the sun out of my shot, and then things start to look a bit nicer once that sun starts to set. Things were starting to get better. But I just don't like that water. Okay, that's at a 20th of a second. It's not doing anything, if you know what I mean. Like, the water's just not doing anything. So I was taking photos for you people so I could show you on a live stream rather than just talking. I was taking photos. And then eventually I think I did start to slow down my exposure. So there we're at almost half a second, but the waves just weren't big enough. It was windy. So being at half a second now, all these leaves are blurring in the wind. So this was one of those nights where I knew I wasn't getting the shot that I wanted. And it's hard to get motivated. If you're not getting the shots you want, it is hard to get motivated sometimes. Okay, so yeah, to me that tree is just blurry because our shutter speed got too slow. So you know, I still got some nice images out of it. I think once we just embraced the long exposure, things started, yeah, the wind actually stopped for a minute from memory, and that looks okay. That's at 3 seconds, and that tree is almost perfect. Okay, so that one's okay. I'm just going to reset that. It's completely blown out the sky. I did do multiple exposures. So I think we're allowed to do that in the Pano Awards. I think we're allowed to do an exposure blend. So that one for our foreground, and then blend in that sky. Just having that slightly long exposure, smoothing out that water a little bit. But again, I don't like them. I don't like them. I think I posted one of these on Facebook just because it was there. But yeah, images like this, I'd just skip over them. So again, we got some nice photos. The sky didn't do enough, you know, for entering to enter an award. It's got to be something special. It can't be just a nice photo. It's got to be really nice. These are nice, but they're not really nice. Okay, so that one there, probably even just, I can see those purple beams of light, so embrace the purple a little bit. So yeah, blend those two together, they'll look fine. Anyway, didn't like any of them either. Now, onto these ones. These are my latest ones. These are the ones everyone's been waiting to see, including me. Okay, so the first few were just, and I said it during the live stream, I said these just aren't working. So sometimes, you know, when you're taking photos and they're not working, you'll just know. You'll just see it. I was waiting for a big wave to come in to get some whitewash, and we kind of got it in this one. But once we got the whitewash and I took the shot, I've just gone, nah, doesn't work. So I got what I wanted. I got a wave crashing in over the back, and I just knew they weren't working. So then I moved. We moved around a little bit. And again, I didn't think this was working that well because of this bottom left-hand corner. There was just nothing happening down here that I liked. The water flow over the rocks here looked good. Everything there kind of looked okay. I tried working on this whitewash to create some interest in that bottom left-hand corner. And again, it wasn't doing it for me. Then I was about to move. And I thought the reflections looked okay, but now that I look at that, that's boring as batshit. That is just that's a crappy photo. Look how much difference some whitewash makes. They're exact same composition. So I took these. I was about to move, and then our first wave came through, and then I've gone, oh, hang on. Now all of a sudden, things are starting to look a bit nicer. Now that one is overblown a bit. I was doing multiple exposures again for our sky. And then all of a sudden I got that wave and everything changed. All of a sudden we've gone from this very boring composition, and all of a sudden that wave comes over and changes the whole image. So I did nearly slip on my ass too, Birdman. Yeah, that was on the live stream too, wasn't it? So if you didn't see the live stream, go and watch me nearly slip on my ass. And then, yeah, all of a sudden that wave crashed over, changed the whole composition completely. What started out as a really boring foreground, which I knew I was going to crop out anyway. There was just sort of nothing happening here. All of a sudden we get some waves, and that's why I love rocks and waves, because every shot's different. Okay, and then I just sort of kept firing to see what the foreground was going to do. And then I thought, you know what, we're going to stay. So then I exposed it a little bit better. And we got a few shots with the waves crashing over, but again, I sort of kept looking at this thinking, I don't like that. And then the waves slowly got bigger and bigger. Where are we? Where are we at? So you can sort of see how many shots I've taken 60 photos on that night. And a lot of them didn't work. And that's what happens when you're working with water. So, yep, they kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then eventually we got that one. Okay, so that, let's just put our quick preset on that. And if I just reset that, it's perfectly exposed. So we haven't even blown our highlights in our sky. So that is, but look how flat that is. That is flat as a tack. So just by doing a quick preset, this is what we're going to work on. So this is what I was leading up to. I spent 40 minutes leading up to this moment. This is the one we're going to work on, because this was my shot. This one I like as well, but this one, having that wave there in the background just makes such a difference. Okay, so this again is a nice, I prefer the whitewash in this one. I prefer all of this water streaking through the front. If I wasn't entering the panel awards, I would probably blend them together. I would probably use this image, but I would blend that wave in. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go with this one. That's how hard it is to get the perfect shot. Like that's the perfect that's the perfect wave. But then this one just has that added wave crashing in the background. So this is the one we're going to work on. For starters, pano. Look, I might even sell this as a print, not a pano, because I love this shot. This will come up really nice, as you'll see soon. So first thing I want to do is, again, looking at the foreground, it's tough. I'm going to just reset those blacks and whites. Just sort of getting that whitewash where I want it. So I would say around about there is looking pretty good. And then what I'll do is I'll grab my brush tool, grab the brush, and then I'm just going to lift my whites. Let's crank them all the way up because we can dial them back later. Now what I'm going to do, rather than just whiten up everything, I'm just going to kind of bring in the whites where I want the whites. So I want them sort of come in through there, a little bit down here as well. So I'm just really affecting the white. Well, all down there can come in. So I'm just enhancing the whites, okay? It's all about that whitewash. So I'm trying not to touch too much of the rock. So somewhere around about there. And then if it's too much, I can just dial it back. Okay, so I can see that I'm sort of clipping over there. But if I'm clipping over there, what I can do is bring all this up. And then if I just click on this mask again and subtract the brush, and I'll just subtract that little bit that's blown out. Probably even subtract a bit up there as well. Okay, so once you create a mask, if there's bits that you don't like, just, yeah, you can either add or subtract. Okay, so that's looking okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to create another mask with a brush, and I'm going to bring up my effects a little bit. So I'm going to bring up the texture and bring up the clarity, and again, just paint it over those rocks. So that's just going to give the whitewash a bit more texture to it without making it too crunchy. Okay, and again, it's I'm going to subtract a brush, and over there where it's blown out, I'm just going to subtract that little bit that blew out. So again, I'll do this a lot, just do the before and after. Okay, so that whitewash is looking better. So now we've got separation between the whitewash and the rocks. So our whitewash is actually white, the rocks have still got that nice glow. Bit of texture, clarity, that all helps. Now I'm reasonably happy with that foreground, so now I deal with my sky, create mask, and dead straight horizon, dead straight mask. We'll just bring down our exposure a little bit. And again, this is one where I don't know whether to go like a bright or a dark moody, so I'll just sort of get it somewhere in between. I'm going to grab a radial gradient, and I'm going to bring in this golden glow a little bit. Okay, so I'm just sort of enhancing what's already there. So we've already got a bit of a golden glow, so I'm just going to enhance that golden glow a little bit without going too far, and then maybe just take our clarity down a little bit. Take the dehaze down, that's going to add a bit more of a glow from the side. Just take the texture, clarity and dehaze down, softens everything. So now we've got a nice soft glow. So there's before and there's after. It's very subtle, but it's just a nice soft glow. So just sort of enhancing what was already there. Now that wave, I'm going to deal with that wave. To me, that wave just looks a little bit dark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab another brush. Make my brush nice and small. I'm going to brush inside that wave. And then just bring up my shadows a little bit. And see how that's sort of just bringing out that wave a little bit. So let's just lift our shadows in that wave. Maybe even bring the blacks up just a tad. No, I don't want to bring the blacks up. Just the shadows will do. And just experiment with. So this one, I'd probably take it into Photoshop to do that. But if we just bring that up a little bit. Okay, again, if we have a look at that wave, let's have a look at, let me zoom in. So there's before and there's after. Okay, so just brighten up the wave a little bit just to make it a bit more of a feature. Not a lot I need to do to this image. Okay, and again, the crop, yeah, I might even go more sky. There's almost too much white. Like this whitewash, I don't like it. It's not the perfect shot. It's far from the perfect shot. The whitewash is a bit too washy. This one is much better. This whitewash is just nice, so it's got a bit more texture to it. What was that at? That was at a 6, just over half a second. Looking back at it, probably just under half a second would have been better. You know, around about 1/3 of a second, 1/4 of a second. Being, you know, longer than half a second, probably a bit too soft. Yeah, knowing that you know, the bigger the wave, the faster you want your shutter speed. So nice big waves, you don't want to be at half a second. The smaller waves, they look fine at half a second. So these smaller waves, they look good at half a second because they're moving slowly. Where this one here, it was a big wave. If you saw the live stream, it was a decent wave. And then it's just a matter of fine tuning. So that's the basics. That's, you know, if we have a look at before and after, just sort of enhancing what we've got. That's the way I edit. I enhance what's already there. I'm not going to add in light that wasn't there. I'm not going to, you know, bring in things that aren't there. I'm just kind of enhancing what's there. So there, everything's flat. So I'm just bringing that golden glow, bringing some color and texture back into the water, lighting up that wave a little bit. Because that's how I remember it. I remember seeing that barreling in. I think I even commented on the barrel. Not often we get to see barrels or tubes in Hervey Bay. Yeah, this one, let's going to take it into Photoshop. Just to do, not the finishing touches, but give you another idea of some things that we can do in Photoshop. How long have we been going for? Almost an hour. So I do like this image. One thing, I don't know if the judges will pick up on it, but I can see that. There's a boat. There's a boat out there on the horizon. It's a distraction because it's not a feature in the shot. Okay, it is a distraction. I'm not cloning it out. So this one would go well with an Orton effect, which I have a shortcut for my Orton effect. Dial that way back. So again, I've got a video on the Orton effect. I do like to use the Orton effect sparingly. It works well with these types of images. Just adds a bit of a glow. So somewhere around about there. Let's just have a look at our curves again. So I definitely don't want to brighten everything up. If anything, I probably do want to darken it down. Bring some drama back into that sky. Get all that somewhere around about there. Probably too dark over in that corner now. Bit too dark. Oh, hang on. I didn't want to do that. Over there. Again, it's one of those images. Another good little tip, zoom out. If you zoom way out, you'll notice things in your thumbnail. Okay, so straight away I'm noticing it's too dark in that little corner there. Yeah, thumbnails just give you a good overall look at the image, and you will notice things by zooming out that you won't notice when you're in tight. Okay, so zoom out. If it looks good in a thumbnail, it's usually a good picture. Sometimes you'll look at a thumbnail and you'll think, oh, that looks like garbage. So yeah, just zoom out. Okay, so yeah, nice image. I don't know what else I'd do to it. I don't do a lot to my images, to tell the truth. I know I do all these YouTube videos on how to use Photoshop, but yeah, I don't use Photoshop much, to tell the truth. I just like to capture my image as best as I can and then just do a little bit to it. So that I do like that. And finally, I always do my sharpening in Photoshop. Filter, sharpen, smart sharpen. I have a couple that I've created. So I've got a basic, I've got a landscape, and I've got a light. For this one, I'd go with my landscape. So there's the settings there if you want to pause the video later. But amount 200, radius 1.2, reduce noise by 10%. Highlights and shadows I don't touch. So the smart sharpen is really good. I used to do a high pass filter back in the day. High pass filter used to be really good, but smart sharpen is exactly that. Smart sharpen is a smart sharpen. It will only, it's basically a high pass. It will pick out the most contrasty parts. Wonder if I still remember how to do a high pass. Let's have a look. Let's see if I remember the high pass. Filter, other, high pass. There it is. This is what I used to do back in the day, the high pass filter. And then what you do is you do your high pass and then you just bring it up until you start to see edges. Okay, starting to see edges now. So you you don't want to overcook it because then things just go out of control. You just sort of bring it up a little bit. This is a bit of an old school. I wonder if does anyone still use the high pass? Leave a comment. If you still use high pass, every photographer would have used this. This was the way to sharpen. So you just bring it up until you start to see all that texture. You can use your little window up here as well. You press OK, and then you come down to, and I think it was overlay. It was. There we go. I remembered how to do it. So if I zoom in now, oh, that looks really crunchy. But yeah, there's the high pass filter. So then once you've created your high pass filter, you can create a mask. I usually invert my mask, and then with a white brush, you just paint in the bits you want sharpened. So I just want to sharpen those rocks. Just with a white brush, you paint in the bits you want to sharpen. Paint over here. So then you're just painting in your high pass filter. So yeah, that's very old school. That was early days in Photoshop. I wonder if people still use it. And it'd be interesting. Do people still use the high pass filter? Yeah, so you can see it does a pretty good job. Now I've double filtered that because I've done the smart and then I've done the high pass. But yeah, these days smart sharpen does what I need it to do. And it does a good job. All right, so that's that image. And we might wind it up. We've been going for nearly an hour. So that photo I like. I still need to do more of it. Again, you know, I will save this one, sit on it, revisit it again and again and again until I get it to somewhere where I'm reasonably happy. Good thing is this doesn't need a lot of work. I like this photo as it is. In fact, I'm not even going to bother saving it because the Lightroom edit as is not too bad. It's one of those photos I don't need to do a lot to it. And then finally, yeah, so this one, look, now that I've done this edit, let's just sync that over. So I'm just going to hold my control key, select that one. Let's sync everything over because these two images are very similar. So I'm going to sync it over. I'll just quickly check Discord to see if we've got anything happening in the Discord. No, Discord's all good. Okay, so then we've got that one and we've got this one. So yeah, I definitely like the one with the wave in it more. I prefer the texture over the rocks for the water. I prefer the water in this shot. How's our stream holding out too? I've noticed things starting to run a little bit slow. Stream seems to be running okay. Interesting. So yeah, I just think this one with the wave in the background it's a better overall image. But I do like this whitewash more. I think that whitewash just looks nicer. Yeah, but having that wave definitely adds to it. Now, is it going to be one of my award-winning? I don't know. I haven't got that far yet. And then eventually the live stream it died. The sky did nothing. So it was a good thing I went out and got those things on the rocks. Still here, good. So everything's been running okay. Have I dropped out at all at any stage? So stream good? Okay, good. All right. Does anyone want to see anything while we're in here? I could probably talk crap for another 10 minutes. Does anyone want to see anything? Is there anything you want to see in Photoshop? Or any questions? Because yeah, these photos here, I just don't like them. I don't like them. Let's just change that white balance. It's the sky just didn't do enough. And I'm not one of these people that, if the sky's not good, I'm not going to make it good. Okay, there's no point. If the sky's not good, you could spend hours adding color to it and doing little bits and pieces. If it's not good, it's not good. Don't try and add color to something that's not already there, which I know you can do it. It can be done, but yeah, don't come to me for that. That sky to me just, yeah, boring as batshit. If we come down to detail, no, where is it? Oh, it's up here. Texture and clarity. You watch, a lot of people would just do this to their sky, sort of add all that texture and grain and add some contrast. Nah. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Okay. But yeah, like white balance even the white balance got confused because there was no white, there was no grays. It was just, yeah. Yeah, so those images there again, you know, yeah, they're okay. I like my foreground. The foreground with that, see, that tide is almost perfect. If I was to crop that in, and I think Kerry's probably got some as well because she was out with me that night. So Kerry's probably got a few of these images. So what I might do, I'll do a quick edit just for Kerry. So what I'll do, like, look at that. As a 3:1, that works pretty well. I can see the channel markers. I didn't quite hide them well enough. Then what I'll do is I'll sync everything over to that one. Check all synchronize. Okay, so that, you know, let's go for a bit of a high key with this one, just for something different. So high key, yeah, I'll show you what I mean by high key. All right, now that sky, let's deal with that sky. Get rid of some of that blue. Okay, let's really enhance this golden glow over here. So again, radial gradient, I'm going to bring this right across the sky onto the tree. Okay, just sort of bring that in, and you know what? Let's go to town on it. Let's where did that mask go? Let's just brighten this side of the sky up a little bit. Let's add a bit of blue to it. Cool it down a little bit. We're adding color. The thing that I said I wasn't going to do, I'm doing it. I'm doing it just for you. So yeah. Add some color to that sky. You could even use your brush if you want to add some color to that sky. I wouldn't go from blue to orange or something like that. So just grab a brush tool, make your brush nice and big, and just play around with white balance. I'm just going to sort of paint that corner of the sky. And then if we just really cool it down, add some contrast to it, lighten it up a little bit. Maybe even get down a little bit further because we're going to blank out the whole foreground. So I'm not looking at my foreground at the moment. I'm just sort of looking at that sky. So somewhere like that. Then we can open them both into Photoshop. We'll open them as layers. And I'll show you this exposure blend again. So yes, I know Kerry will have very similar shots to this. So here's a good little tip. And look, turning them into a panorama already makes them look nice. So because this one, we're going for a high key, what I'm going to do is just make a copy. I like to have a copy just in case anything goes wrong. I've got my original there. So top layer, layer mask, channels, hold the control key or command key on your Mac, select RGB, and then even if I just press control or command and I to invert, that will get rid of all the brightest parts, but then it does the whole image. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but just grab a black brush, turn your opacity way down. Because we're going for a high key with this one, all I want to do is paint in a little bit of that sky. Okay, just a little bit. And then if I drop the opacity of that one, that way we sort of retain all of our texture and just bring in a little bit, like around about there somewhere. And then even if we drop that exposure in the middle, no, I like it brighter. It looks nice bright. Somewhere around about there. Okay, we could even put our Orton effect on that. That'll give it a real glow. So there's basically a high key, but we're keeping all of our highlight detail. Some people think high key is just blowing your highlights completely. Okay, you don't want to blow your highlights completely. That's not high key, that's overexposed. So high key is just very bright brights. Well, that's the way I think of it anyway. So then we'll just sort of brighten everything up. And then finally, yeah, play around with color balance. So if we come down to color balance in our adjustments, we can sort of get that roughly where we want it. So I think a little bit of magenta in there looks good. Maybe just warm it up a little bit. So much we can do in Photoshop. Yeah, don't like the green in it. Probably around about there. Yeah, don't know, then we can dial that back. So that's what I call a high key. A high key is, yeah, a very bright image, not an overexposed image. A very bright image. So, you know, then at least when we print it out, we're still getting ink on our paper. We're still seeing some detail, just everything's very overly exposed. Okay, so that's not too bad. That's okay. Okay, just for something different. And then we can go the complete other way. If we just grab that curve and darken everything down, okay, then we can sort of just under and overexpose with our curves. Okay, the S curve, yeah, the S curves, whatever. That will add contrast. So I know a lot of people, especially in the early days, everyone used to bang on about adding an S curve. I'm not a fan of the S curve. It makes it a bit too contrasty. I'll show you another good. Instead of the S curve, take a copy of your photo, come to your blending type and choose overlay. Okay, overlay is better than an S curve. Does the exact same thing, but we can sort of dial it in and out. So the overlay is a very good way of adding some contrast. Very similar to the S curve. I just think it works better. And that's a good thing with editing. We can all do it differently. We don't all have to do the exact same thing. There's lots of different ways of doing the same thing. The S curve, yeah, I think I just got I got sick of people talking about the S curve. And finally, let's add an S curve. No, yeah, overlay. So make a copy. Whenever you've got a copy of an image, you've got all these blending types here. The overlay and even the soft light, those two do a good job. Okay, so play around with these blending types and then you can just dial them back. Okay, if you find that they're too aggressive, just dial them back a bit. Get them to where you want them. Okay, I think I struggled a bit with editing. Yeah, look, the reason you would have struggled, Kerry, is because the light was crap. That's all there is to it. The light wasn't fantastic. Yeah, and that's all it was. Like back here, if you had have got some of these, like look at the light on that. The light there is just a lot nicer. Here it just, you know, you're forcing light, and that's why it's hard to edit, because the light wasn't nice. Okay, the sky didn't do what we wanted it to do. Where back here, you know, the light, did you have any from earlier, or did you head it over to the tree a bit earlier than me, I think? Yeah. And then I'm just going to, as an example, if we just edit this in, this is the good thing with Photoshop and Lightroom working together. So every time I move a photo from Lightroom, every time I do that right click to, it's basically reopening my raw file into Photoshop. So I just find it's a good way of working with the same raw file and reopening it. Yeah, you went to the tree a bit earlier. So did you get that nice light at the tree? Were you at the tree when this light was happening? I wonder if you were there while this light was happening. And this was way before sunset, because I think I moved over to the tree while the sun was still up. Because did I try a starburst? Where's my first couple of shots? Nah, maybe I did get there. Oh, that's when the sun just went behind the clouds. We didn't even get a starburst, did we? That just disappeared. But yeah, if you don't like the high key, you can just bring in your other exposure and then just sort of blend them. It's a good thing with Photoshop. I do most of my editing in Photoshop. Lightroom I use for the basics. Lightroom's good for just a quick, easy edit. Get your photo roughly where you want it, and then bring it into Photoshop and do the fine tuning. No starburst, nah, yeah, okay. So I think, yeah, even with these, I did have the sun in the first shot. I can definitely see the sun. Yeah, it still does look a little bit diffused. I can see it a little bit diffused there. I had a couple of shots. Yeah, I can just see that the sun wasn't really super bright. It was a little bit, and that's why it was nice when it was out there. It's hard to beat some golden side light. Anyway, that's about, and then we got into the blue hour shots. And they're very blue. But again, even them, they didn't do anything for me. I tried a couple with the water. That white balance, yeah, and the camera was on white priority. Yeah, something. Auto white balance with a white priority. I've never even noticed that before. But yeah, these shots were just, it's all about light. It really is. It's all about light, and we didn't get light on that night. That happens. All right, that's it. I'm going to wind it up. I've been going for over an hour. So yeah, that's my latest. So these ones, look, I like these shots. I'm going to have to go through, and we've still got a bit of time left. I want to get some more astro shots. So these are all of our live streams. All these ones here in the Pano Awards, these are all our live streams. Some days we got one shot. We got some nice ones. I still think the very first attempt was probably the best one. I do want to get out for some more Milky Ways. We're getting close to Milky Way season again. So it won't be long and we'll be able to get back out there and start doing this sort of thing. Thank you, some more good tips. No worries, thank you. So thank you to everyone who did join in. Thank you for watching. Yeah, I'm going to do less of these editing streams. I think they do just go a bit long. It was more here just to show people the raw files, to show how many photos that I got, like especially on this day. Like I got 2 photos that I was really happy with, and the rest of them, like this was the whole purpose of going out this night, was to get this shot. This was the shot that I wanted, but the sky did nothing. And when the sky does nothing, you get nothing. But I managed to get these, which I'm very happy with these shots. Very happy. All right, that's it. Hopefully next time you see me, I will be live. I've been working on a video which I might scrap because it's garbage. I went out the other night, and it was another one of those nights where I just didn't get a shot that I wanted. I took photos, but none of them are good, and I don't want to share crappy photos with you. So yeah, I might do another live stream out in the field. Weather's looking pretty good all week. It's looking a few showers all week, so we'll see how we go. All right, I will finish it up there. Been going for way too long. So thank you to everyone who did join in. yeah, if you have any questions or if you want to know how to do something, just leave a comment. And yeah, I'm struggling for ideas. I want people to give me ideas on what things to do. Quick question: why use Lightroom Classic and not Camera Raw? The main reason I use Lightroom Classic is just for organization. So in here, I can see all of my photos, and it just makes it easier as finding photos rather than trying to find my raw files and bring them in. I used to do them all through Camera Raw to find, easier to find images. This way I can go through and I can rate them. So rather than trying to find the one file in Photoshop and bringing it in, which is what I used to do, I just found using Lightroom was a quicker way for my file management. I can just load them all up, see them all instantly. Where if you load them all into Photoshop, it just takes forever. It was just slower and a bit more clunky doing it through Photoshop. So I do prefer to do Lightroom, do my quick adjustments here in Lightroom, because it's all the same. Like Adobe Camera Raw in both Photoshop and Lightroom, it's the same thing. So if there's things that I can't do in Lightroom, that's when I take it to Photoshop. But otherwise, I do most of my editing here in Lightroom just as a quick edit, and then they're all there, they're all saved. Photoshop is great for doing 1 or 2 images, where in here I can look at a heap of different images and I can sort of just flick between them. So that's the only reason I do it that way. That's the only reason I do it that way. Back in the old days, I would go through and I would literally pluck out 1 or 2 images and then open them directly into Photoshop. But then I found that I'd open those 1 or 2 images in Photoshop, and then when I revisited my photos, I'll be like, oh shit, here's a photo that I thought was garbage, but now I want to revisit it. So then I've got to go back, find the raw file. When they're in Lightroom, they're just there, and it's a nice, quick and easy way of viewing your photos and doing that basic Adobe Camera Raw edit, and then take it into Photoshop for the finishing touches. So yeah, that's just the way I do it. It's there's no right way or wrong way. It's all just what you're used to and what you're comfortable with. But yeah, me, I do most of my editing in Lightroom now, and it's only when I sort of get, you know, that 1 in 100 shot where I think, oh wow, this one, I want to go that one step further. So that's when I take it into Photoshop. So yes, good question though, because I know a lot of people do just edit in Photoshop, just straight out in Photoshop. They don't even bother with Lightroom. I like, especially with these, like, you know, I've got all of these photos in here and I can just click on them and see them instantly. Where with Photoshop, yeah, it's just it's a bit harder to find what you're looking for when you've got to go through thumbnails, where in Lightroom, it's file organization, basically. In a nutshell, file organization for Lightroom, and then whack them over into Photoshop to do the finishing touches. So that's it. As you can see, we have done quite a few of these sessions. Have I got an award-winning shot? I don't know. We've got lots of nice photos. And again, every time I revisit them, I sort of think, well, actually, they're not too bad. We have got some good shots there. So I don't know how I'm going to do this going forward, whether I just narrow it down to my top 10, which is what I might do. I might narrow it down to my top 10 eventually, because this is all part of, you know, I want everyone involved in this. It's not just all about me. I want people to help me decide which images to submit eventually. We'll go through and we'll do some edits, and then, yeah, get people to help me choose which photos they think I should submit. Because if I choose my favorites, half of you might look at them and go, no, why did you choose that? You should have chose this. So, which is what the judges will see. 13 looks amazing. 13. Oh, this photo number 13. Yeah, this is an actual stitch. This isn't just a straight raw file. Oh no, that is a straight raw file. Yeah, look, we got some nice photos early on. We did this. Where are these pictures taken? Are they for a contest? Yeah, so all of these are taken in Hervey Bay, Queensland, Australia. And yes, I'm entering the Epson Pano Awards. So all of these images, it's a little challenge I've set out where I have to do it during a live stream. So all of these images have been taken during my live stream. So every photo in these files has been captured live, and I'm only going to submit photos that I've captured live, and trust me, I've got some that I've taken off camera that are bloody amazing. But that's part of the challenge, is to sort of show people how hard it is to get an award-winning image, and only going out, you know, this is, when did I start this? I think it was in around about, where was my first one? October? No. Yeah, anyway, we've been going for nearly a year, I think. It was when the Epson Awards first started. So yeah, all taken here in Hervey Bay, Queensland. I've got a few locations that I'm kind of revisiting until I get the conditions that I want. So yeah, that's one of my locations. So yeah, we'll go through them all eventually. But yeah, live streams, that's where I'm capturing all the images. So yeah, thank you. So Albert, thank you for joining in just as I'm winding up. So thank you. And yeah, look, next time I will do another live stream. We'll be out in the field. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure how we're going to work these live streams here. I don't want people sitting through and just listening to me talk about the images. I'll go through and narrow down my favorites from each shoot. We haven't even gone through these ones yet, but these ones, we've got a few nice ones here as well. So these ones are actual panos. So these are ones that I will eventually stitch together. That one was cool because we had that bird flying in the background. But again, this one, they got people in the background and I can't clone them out. So I need to go through and just sort out which photos we're going to keep and which ones we're gonna bin. But yeah, we've got lots of photos to choose from. So yeah, I'm just saving money for a new camera. Oh, I've just bought a new camera recently, and it's exciting getting a new camera. So yes, good. Anyway, I'm going to wind it up. I'd love to stay and chat and find out what sort of camera you've got or planning on getting. So yeah, I will wind it up. I've been going for a while. You like me waffling. I hate the sound of my own voice. I just want to get it over and done with. But yeah, I'll go through. Oh, look at, see, these will come up nice. But yeah, people in the background, damn it, that's how hard it is to get an award-winning shot. You've got to have no distractions in your background. All right, I'm going to finish up. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching. And yeah, next time you'll see me, I much prefer to be out live than sitting here in front of a computer screen. So thank you, and I will see you all shortly, hopefully out in the wild. All right, see ya.